We move to public testimony, public comment. There's 30 minutes put aside at the beginning of the meeting for public testimony. Normally, it's 3 minutes a speaker. If you take less time, that allows other speakers. At the end of the meeting, there is also an opportunity for additional public comment. And before we start public comment, because I know there are people here for our superintendent search and our superintendent process, I just have a very brief statement I want to put out there to the community. The decision to hire a superintendent is probably the most important task our community has entrusted in us as your elected school board members. We have taken that responsibility, all of us, the entire board, very seriously over the past several months. We have been following a transparent, expansive, broad-based community input process to clearly identify the traits and strengths you want in a new superintendent. As a result of that process, we created a leadership profile to guide our search and selection. So far, it has served us well. We have been exercising due diligence in a meticulous vetting process to make sure the person we select truly meets those profile standards. We won't take their word for it. We do our own research and talk with references from a broad spectrum of community and staff. We are going to open the floor for public comment, but I do want to let people in the community know that we are going to preface public comment with the comment that the board will continue its due diligence and also needs additional time for the board to deliberate. We are going to slow down our process. And I want to be clear about this. We have not put an end to it, but we are slowing it down and continuing due diligence. And the board needs more time for deliberation. It's one of the hardest things for a board to do is find time to deliberate on these really significant issues. So thank you for your patience. We are going to start public comment. I have cards.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Just a quick note about whether or not there was concern that we were going to be voting on it tonight.
Oh, thank you, Josh. There was no action anticipated tonight. There will be no action tonight. We are neither adopting or approving a contract nor making an appointment tonight, okay? Just so people are clear with that, right? And there was never an intent to do that tonight. That remains to be seen, but we are slowing down the process, and I don't anticipate anything will be done next week at this point. I don't anticipate that. Leo, you were here in closed session. I'm going to call you first, followed by Sarah Klein.
Hello, members of the board. Hopefully you guys are having a very entertaining day. I see I have a whole bunch of public comment. But what I would like to talk about is Berkeley's failure. And not just your failure, because we are all guilty of not serving the African American community again. I see how you guys put out your little notices and say how scores have gone up and things have happened. But what I find most troubling is your McKinney-Vento process. And you guys probably know what the McKinney-Vento Act is. It's serving poor and homeless people. Most of them happen to be black and brown. And what I see and what I have experienced through this program, because my daughter participated in this program when she first came to this school, and now she's on her way to college. She is UC eligible. She did all of her little A through G requirements, but now you guys have all of a sudden cut funding. And I'm like, what? It's kind of Romney-esque. At a time where homeless people need more resources, and there are more homeless people, you give them less resources. I'm like, wow. In the city of Berkeley, in the citadel of liberalism, this is happening? Why? because I have seen people who have benefited from this program. I know of a man who came back to Berkeley High and went to adult school, and he got his diploma, found 2 jobs, went to a junior college, has a substantial amount of money saved up, and this wouldn't have been able to happen without this program. What happens here is the people at the bottom get the less. And my thing is, what I feel what black people and brown people should do is we should do some nonviolent direct action. Like, I'm gonna try to organize students and parents to don't send your kid to school, because that will hurt you in your pocketbook, because you don't understand just trying to help people out. When you like see black people who would look like me or my cousin or my brother or my daughter, y'all give them less resources and less services. And it's criminal, man. How can you cut a program that helps out homeless people in a recession? Come on, man. And I'm bringing it to the board because the board seems to be more representative of the community, and hopefully you can help out the community. Thank you very much.
Sarah Klein, followed by Dan Plonzi.
Good evening to the school board. I love watching you on TV, and now I get to talk to you in real life. My name is Sarah Klein. I am an alum of Berkeley High School and then King Junior High School, Franklin Elementary, Jefferson Primary School. I am also a teacher at Berkeley High School. I am the director of the jazz department, such as it is. I don't know if we're a department, but I'm the jazz teacher. I'm also a mother of 2 children, a 3rd grader and a kindergartner at Malcolm X. I am here speaking against the nomination of Edmond T. Heatley for superintendent. 3 years ago, the Berkeley Unified School District was the first school district in our nation to adopt the Welcoming Schools curriculum, a curriculum whose purpose is to honor all of our students' families, regardless of family configuration, race, ethnicity, cultural background, or the sexual orientation of the parents. This historic curriculum adoption reflects Berkeley's values: openness, inclusion, tolerance, and a belief that our diversity makes us strong. On September 4th, 2008, then Chino Valley Unified School District Superintendent Edmond T. Heatley wrote a memo urging his school board to pass a resolution in support of Proposition 8, whose eventual passage ended gay and lesbian marriage in our state. In this memo, Mr. Heatley states that, and I quote, "The ideal learning environment for children is within a nurturing home governed by a mother and a father as primary educators of their children." He also falsely states, if Proposition 8 is not successful, then school districts throughout California will inevitably be required to adjust their policies and curriculum to align with the court's recent redefinition of marriage. He misstated that in an effort to sway his school board to pass this resolution in support of Proposition 8. If you hire Edmond Heatley as the superintendent of this school district, that will send a message. It will send a message to my 8-year-old daughter and my 5-year-old son. And the message that that will send is that their family is not as good as other families. Sending that message does not reflect Berkeley values. We all understand that you would like this search to be over, and we would like it to be over, and that we need a superintendent. And I'm so glad that you're deciding to slow down, because I don't believe that those values expressed by Mr. Heatley represent the values of any one of you individually. I don't believe that. And I don't believe, even though you have the right to hire someone, that you are empowered to hire someone who does not reflect the values of our community. Thank you.
this Dan? Dan? Okay, followed by Miriam Stahl.
Okay. Good evening, Board. My name is Dan Plonzi. I'm a high school math teacher here at Berkeley High. I have two sons in the district, one at the high school, one at Berkeley Arts Magnet. Boy, after what Sarah Klein just told us, I almost feel like I don't really have to talk, but I do want to speak against the nomination on some other grounds. The president of the board was talking about getting input from the community as to what we most needed in a superintendent, and I have some correspondence on that from the board that the number one priority was an instructional leader. Dr. Heatley has 2 years' experience in a classroom. What he has done as an administrator is he's been very successful at cutting budgets. He's cut arts programs, he's cut sports, he's cut PE, he's cut bus service, he's cut school time. He did that with less than a month notice to parents, or attempted to do that. He has closed schools. To me, democracy is extremely important. And I was thinking, to some degree, that's basically our curriculum, is democracy. I teach math. In a math class, I lead the class, but my authority is, the math is the authority. All are equal in my math class. If you understand and can explain, you're the authority. Dr. Heatley is not known as an administrator who really values democracy from what I can research online. Instead, I'm seeing parents, I'm seeing teachers, I'm seeing others speaking about him as a person who doesn't take other input into account when he makes decisions. Nothing that I've read really supports Dr. Heatley's nomination. What is the solution to our achievement gap? I feel is we need to eradicate poverty. I'm looking at teachers being blamed for this all over the nation. My colleagues in Chicago are standing up for us. I'm so proud of them. Our kids won't be educated until we have dealt with poverty, and those who try to blame teachers are trying to turn our attention from the true issue of our time. Thank you.
Miriam, followed by Nancy King.
Hi, my name is Jody Sokolauer. I live in Berkeley, I taught at Berkeley High, and my daughter graduated from Berkeley schools. I care a lot about what happens here. For the past 3 years, I've been the managing editor of Rethinking Schools, a magazine for K-12 teachers, and I'm responsible for our policy coverage. That means I spend a lot of time reading about national trends in education. I've read very disturbing information about the Broad Superintendent's Academy, so I was concerned to hear that BUSD was considering hiring Edmond Heatley, a Broad alumnus, as superintendent. Yes. The Broad Academy has been enormously successful in putting its graduates in large school districts, currently including Chicago, Los Angeles, Dallas, Denver, Philadelphia, and as state superintendents of education, currently including Louisiana, Maryland, New Jersey, and Rhode Island. The Broad Center has a very clear national strategy that's well documented, both in their public announcements and in the track record of their graduates. They're best known for a top-down management system. Last year, half of their graduates were either from the military or from corporations, not from schools at all. They believe in a corporate model. They push to replace elected school boards with those appointed by mayors, and elected school site councils with elected councils, or no councils at all. They implement teacher evaluation based on the standardized test scores of students, try to weaken teachers' unions, and close public schools in favor of charters. The most evocative example of Brogue leadership this week is Chicago, where Brogue graduate Jean-Claude Broussard so angered teachers and parents that 90% of the 30,000 teachers and educational support people in Chicago voted to strike. The teachers there, with broad community support, are fighting to lower class sizes that are as high as 50 to 1, bring back counselors, nurses, librarians, arts teachers, and stop the wholesale closure of public schools in favor of private charters. I know we don't want that here. I don't know Edmond Heatley. Maybe he has a completely different approach, although from what other people were saying, doesn't sound like it. But unless he comes out publicly to repudiate Broad policies and explain how he sees things differently, I deeply believe that hiring him would be a dreadful mistake. In the past few years, BUSD pushed back against the national trend of scripted reading programs to focus on a literature-based program. That makes us a voice of sanity in the wilderness. Please, let's continue to build an education system that's based on equity and the empowerment of our students, our teachers, our parents, and our community. I just wanted to say that if you all need more resources about Broad, I'm happy to give them to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy King, followed by Alex Angel.
Esteemed members of the school board, I'm here tonight as a National Board Certified Educator to express my concern about the candidate for superintendent, Edmond Heatley. I wonder if this candidate has the knowledge and stability it takes to lead Berkeley. Edmond Heatley was a teacher for 2 years. He has held various positions in education management, but none of them seems to have lasted more than 2 or 3 years. It makes me very suspicious to read the recent press release, which recounts Mr. Heatley's zigzagging career path. How can he possibly get to know and lead the students, families, teachers, and the community in such a short amount of time and then abruptly leave? It seems to reflect a lack of commitment, or maybe he leaves because of failed policies, like so many other urban superintendents these days. As the previous speaker said, Edmond Heatley attended the Broad Foundation Superintendent's Academy, an unaccredited training program for school leaders. According to Diane Ravitch, an education historian who wrote The Death and Life of the Great American School System, and I quote, "The Broad education agenda emphasizes the promotion of charter schools, the adoption of corporate methods for school leadership, and changes in the way teachers are compensated. There are many urban superintendents who have also attended the Broad Superintendent's Academy, including Randy Ward and Joel Klein. These superintendents failed in their efforts because what they learned at the Broad Academy was a reform model that is not logical or evidence-based. I guess the idea is that a top-down management style which emphasizes test scores and punishes teachers somehow magically erases the effects of poverty on children. The entire nation is feeling the bitter effects of the corporate reform model with its anti-teacher, anti-union, and anti-intellectual tactics from Washington, D.C. and New York City to Wisconsin and Chicago. Is this a good fit for us? We're doing so well. Attendance has increased, graduation rates have increased, and test scores are up. The elementary teachers are excited about working with the new Common Core standards. In spite of so many economic problems throughout California, Berkeley's still surviving. But the achievement gap persists, and I'm afraid that after such a long search for a new superintendent, the board has become desperate to find someone, anyone who can offer a solution. I don't think Mr. Heatley will be able to help Berkeley. I would rather stick with our interim superintendents who already have the commitment, knowledge, and experience to move our district forward.
Alex Angel, followed by Ricky Moreno. Moreno.
Good evening, board. My name is Alex Angel, and I'm a history teacher at Berkeley High. I think it was yesterday, as I was getting mail out of my box, I got this flyer from the Equal Opportunity Now caucus. I want to be really clear that I don't know Mr. Heatley or Yvette Filarco personally. I've never met them. I've never heard of the Eli Broad Foundation or EON before. So I want to be very careful in saying that, you know, some of the testimony and the details I've heard here this evening are new to me and certainly raise, you know, some concerns. But what I'm here to describe is within this particular leaflet, which has been distributed to our teachers, there's an assumption here in this appeal that disturbs me, and I wanted to address that. I think indicting a person simply for their association with an organization that, quote, trains former corporate executives and military officers is unfair and possibly misses an opportunity. How? Well, I think in our experience, certainly my experience, the best decisions or the best possible decisions are made at the end of a process, but at some point an actual decision has to be made. I would go so far as to say that successful corporate executives and military officers are trained to facilitate a process that, one, identifies a specific problem or opportunity, that reviews a variety of different possible solutions and strategies and outcomes, and they are then trained to make a decision based on the options and the outcomes available. To reject Mr. Heatley's candidacy, and again, I haven't met him, I haven't done the review of his professional, you know, his experience, but to reject Mr. Heatley's candidacy based simply on his experience with the Eli Broad Foundation, I find narrow-minded, possibly ideological, and does not reflect what I consider to be the values of tolerance and open-mindedness which the Berkeley community embraces. I don't expect a lot of applause.
Thank you. Ricky, followed by Maggie Knutson.
Good evening. Thank you so much for letting me speak, and also thank you so much for taking the time to deliberate just a little bit more about the potential superintendent candidate. My name is Ricky Moreno, and I am a mom in Berkeley at Rosa Parks. I have 2 children that I am raising with my partner. I have a 3rd grader and a 1st grader. Came to my attention tonight that the candidate that you are considering is a gentleman who has been in support of Prop 8 historically. I live in Berkeley and I work in this community and support this community tremendously because of how included my family feels on a daily basis, both in schools and in our community at large. Making a decision like this to bring somebody on who doesn't value my family structure as it exists, is really quite devastating just in theory. And in reality, I feel like would really divide our community at large. My children are greatly accepted in their community as part of, in the midst of beautiful diversity. And I would appreciate that to continue, and for there not to be such a great leader to have supported divisiveness. I know that my time is not up, but that's really it. It's from the heart. You know, this is a huge issue for our families. Prop 8 was a huge issue for our families, and it was very devastating in the community. And bringing somebody in who is in support of such an idea would really be devastating. Thank you.
Thank you. Maggie Knutson.
Good evening, everyone. I want to first thank everyone for the tireless work that you all do on behalf of students. I'm sure it goes unthanked. My name is Maggie Knutson. I moved here to Berkeley from Minneapolis 2 years ago. In Minnesota, I was a public school teacher for 15 years, and during that time, I received the National Millikan Educator Award and the Target Teacher of Excellence. I received my PhD in literacy education from the University of Minnesota. I taught at the University of Minnesota and was one of 2 governor-appointed members of the Minnesota State Board of Education. I'm now in California, where my husband and I parent 2 of our children, one thriving in the AHA program at BHS, and the other loving Willard Middle School, where my brother is Mr. Mack, the highly esteemed 6th grade math and science teacher. I'm also so very proud and so grateful to all of you, to Neil, to my administrator, Audrey Amos, to have this opportunity to teach. I'm so happy to go to my job every day. You saw me on the first day of school. I told Neil, thank you so much. I love this job. Seriously, every day. I go to school with a smile on my face and come home ready for the challenges that await me the next day. I serve on 4 committees at my site, one on the district committee, and I'm so happy to do so. Ask anyone who knows me and they will tell you that I'm extremely committed and passionate about my work to make profound differences in kids' lives and to the continual improvement of my school. I share this background not to stroke my own ego, but to impress upon each of you that I'm only one of many excellent and devoted teachers in BUSD who loves her job. I look around me at staff meetings, at district events, at those who arrive early to work and leave late, and as I run into colleagues on weekends who are attending their students' sporting events and celebrations, and I know I'm in great company. Speaking for myself and my colleagues, if I may, we wholeheartedly share the courageous and lofty 2020 vision that has been set out for all of us. We know the goals contained therein are the right and just things to do, and we're enthusiastically working to realize them. Our enthusiasm is in large part fueled by the mutual respect and appreciation which is shared between the visionary district leaders, such as yourself, and the passionate professionals who execute the plan for that vision every day. It is a positive and symbiotic relationship that is built on shared values, transparency, trust, and mutual support. I urge you, and I'm speaking as a parent and an experienced educator, to very carefully consider your selection of our new leader and superintendent. This decision will greatly impact the entire district. It has the potential to derail much of the positive energy, trust, and good faith that has been constructed among our district staff, administrators, and parents, or enhance that sense of shared commitment, energy, and trust. Our new leader will have to understand, value, and work to maintain the trajectory that has been created among all of these stakeholders. There is a great sense of positive, proud, and passionate energy swirling among parents, teachers, and administrators. Please choose someone who will hold that in their hands, protect it, and nurture it. Thank you for listening and for all that you do.
Thank you. Miriam, the person you deferred to was on my list, so if do you want? Here we go. All right.
Thank you. My name is Karen Shane. I live in Berkeley. My daughter graduated from Berkeley High, and I don't have a lot to say, actually. I'm not an educator, but I do know what brought me to Berkeley, and what brought me to Berkeley was the school district and the real commitment that we as a community have to having a educational system that at least makes an attempt, voices an attempt to deal and to look at each individual child and to create an educational environment for each of those children. We're not always successful, we all know that. But the other thing that I think is important is a partnership here between the community and the school board. And we as a community are begging you to really, we're so glad you've slowed down, and we beg you to keep looking. This is not a good solution. This is really not a good solution. We want to continue moving in a direction that is positive. We don't want Chicago here. I'm wearing my red shirt. There, I know that, I look at the pictures of Chicago and I see a community that is completely committed to its teachers, completely committed to overturning a structure which I'm so afraid is what is coming to Berkeley if you continue on this course. So thank you for listening, and please let's continue going in a direction that goes against high stakes testing, goes against putting down the teachers, putting down the union, and goes toward creating a more equitable and really just educational system. Thank you.
Thank you. One more, Mark Airgood, and then we'll go to the union reps. Mark?
My name's Yvette Falarka. I'm here representing the Equal Opportunity Now BAM caucus, and I'm also a national organizer with a coalition to defend affirmative action, integration, and immigrant rights, and fight for equality by any means necessary. And I'm proud to teach at Martin Luther King Middle School as well. I'm also wearing red today in solidarity with the Chicago teachers who are on strike. And I think it's very clear tonight that if you do hire Edmond Heatley, that what we see in Chicago today simply foreshadows what you will see here in Berkeley if you make that mistake, because it would be nothing but a provocation, first and foremost, of the teachers, but also of the students in this community, to hire someone who is so fundamentally antithetical to what we as a community and as an education system have stood for and need to continue to stand for. I think that this process has been very closed in reality, and I don't see a transparent process. A short list should be not just one person, and there ought to be an opportunity for everyone in the community and the public, the unions, the students, the parents, to vet then that short list and be able to see and meet the candidates ourselves. That certainly was not part of this process, and I do hope that if and when you do correct what has been, it seemed like a train that wasn't going to stop, and divert it, that it's actually really opened up. Because why not hire Edmond Heatley? You've already heard a bunch of different reasons why, and I want to get at it from a different angle. And that is that when we're talking about the need to close the achievement gap, what we're really talking about is closing the opportunity gap that is inherent in a society and an institution that is institutionally racist. And the Eli Broad Foundation and the policies of people who apply to that foundation, who are accepted by it, and then who come out of it, are policies that push further segregation and further institutional racism. When you're forcing teachers to teach to a racist and biased test, the test is the gap. It doesn't just reflect a gap, it is the gap. When you push charter schools instead of public schools that lead to more segregation and inequality, it's the opposite of what we need to close that achievement gap. We need more integration, not less. We need more public and accountable finances and resources into public schools to close that achievement and opportunity gap, not less, and looking to billionaires like Eli Broad. Edmond Heatley is the Broad candidate for superintendent, but not the candidate of the Berkeley community.
Thank you.